Alright, GP, this one's for you. I've just wanted to share kind of an overall view of my backyard as far as how my gardens are, how my beehives are, the whole system. So what you can see right in front of us here, this is the 22-foot raised bed. Then behind it is the 20-foot raised bed, or the 18-foot raised bed, I'm sorry, and then the 24-foot raised bed. So you can see they're all just three parallel beds, and this front one here, this is the one that I just made the video about. It's got all the onions and garlic planted in it right to about there, and then the end of it down there is still open. I've still got to plant some stuff in it. I've got asparagus growing here. The asparagus is a perennial, so what I need to do now with the cold weather is actually cut it down, but not dig it up, just cut it down and then put in compost and mulch, and then it'll sprout again next year. There's nothing else in the rest of the bed on down except for weeds. And then in my back bed over here again, it's also just nothing but weeds. This is where I threw in that chicken feed that sprouted. You can see it's doing quite well. The oats or grass, whatever it is that has sprouted, is doing very well. But just to look at the sprinkler systems, it's the PVC pipe that runs down the edges, and I've got these little black micro sprinklers in here. And that's just so I can be more efficient with my water. So this is a 90-degree sprinkler, so it sprays out that direction and out that direction, and then the rest of them down the sides of the bed are 180s, so they cover, a half circle spray. There's a tall, skinny sprinkler in the middle. That's just kind of a backup if I feel like I need to water everything all at once, quick and easy. I don't like to use it because it sprays water, all the way out here to the apple tree, and it sprays water all the way over onto the beehive, so it's pretty inefficient. But I just rigged it up in a bind one time. I haven't really used it much since that first night I put it together. So that's it for the raised beds. Again, you can see each one. This is the old sprinkler system with that flexible irrigation pipe. I explained how it warped in the heat. You can see it's still kind of wobbly, and see over here it's fell off. It's laying there, and then it fell off the back of the bed. It expanded, got longer, and fell off, and then flopped over. Now it's flopped into the bed, then it's flopped out of the bed. It's just a big mess. I need to get it taken out. You can see this one over here is doing the same thing. It's drooping down over the edge of the bed, and so now the sprinkler heads that are along there, there's one just to the left of the post here, so you can see that orange sprinkler head. That sprinkler head is not going to do any good if I turn that hose on, so I need to get all those fixed. But you can see the supply lines come up out of the ground, and there's a video where I talked about laying the lines. So they're actually right here under my feet is where the three lines are coming in. They run underneath the gate. And then back over here to the sprinkler timer, which is leaking quite a bit. That's a shame. I'll have to fix that. These two lines are empty. This was the old watering supply line, and this one is actually a conduit for electrical. Interruption there. I'm back now though. So we were just going over the what these two lines are for, and again, that one's just a dummy line. I could tie it back in anytime I need if I need water supply, and then this is just the for the electric fence. The electric fence was hooked up to keep the dogs out. It hasn't been on in years. Just took one pop and they learned their lesson. Going back into here, there's my bee yard, so there's all my beehives set up. Last I checked, all of them were alive, but I really need to do an inspection on them. It's way too cold today, but next nice weather we got to need to do inspection because a couple of them are pretty small and might be struggling. But here's my compost bins. I put the 330-gallon water totes on top, and that's just because I'm trying to, conserve water if I can. So I did that to conserve head space, or conserve vertical space, as far as putting the water bins on top of the compost bins. And it also gives me a little bit of gravity pressure to flow a garden hose. You can see though the side of the bin there is sloping, so this whole thing is leaning because I didn't do a very good job of leveling the ground when I put it up. I mean, that's really bad. The whole thing's leaning. I really need to get that fixed, or these big old bins are just going to come down one day. They're going to fall down like, I don't know, 1,000 pound. No, it's over a ton. These are 330-gallon totes at 8 pounds a gallon for water. Yeah, that's over a ton of water sitting up there. But these are my reserve tanks, and then this is my ground level tank. So this is where the gutters come in off the garage. You can see I've got a gutter across here, so it catches everything off this short sloping roof above the greenhouse. And then there's around the corner over here. Let me just walk over here and show you. So there's a gutter along the side of the garage here, and then it drops down. Of course, that downspout's plugged up. I need to clean that up, but it drops down, runs along the edge here, and then turns the corner and goes into this gutter, which runs across the back of the greenhouse. This is my greenhouse right here, for what it's worth. It's not really a greenhouse, it's a plant room. But it runs across here, and then here's the downspout, runs into the tank, and then I've got the other gutter that runs just along that side of the garage, and then the downspout, of course, and runs over here and comes in. There's no filtration or anything on here, so any sort of pine needles or leaves or anything that come in with that wash into the tank. That's okay. It's not the best, but I figure if it ever does start to build up in the bottom, I'll just flush the whole tank out and clean it over. There's a 2-inch valve down here, which I've reduced down to a 3/4 inch line to hook garden hoses to, but I could always just pop that off and just crank it wide open and let it flush out if I had to. So I use this tank to catch the rainwater, and then if it's full, if the upper tanks are empty, I always fill those back up, and then I'll use, if I'm pumping water, once these are full up here, if I'm pumping water for any reason, I'll pump out of this tank and I'll use my pump to water the garden beds. The pump ties in, the pump's just sitting in here right now on the floor, but I've designed it so that it can tie in right here into the system. And what it will actually do is it draws water from the rain barrels and it puts it in right here, pressures up, you know, positive pressure from the pump, so that it actually runs the sprinkler system. It's all tied in with the automatic sprinkler valve, so when the sprinkler system kicks on and says, hey, I need to water the beds, it also kicks the pump on and automatically starts watering. So, you know, over-engineered just a little bit, but that's the way I like things, I guess. I can just show you too, just for funsies. This thing's leaking, but I can just set it here, open it on, manual on, it kicks on. Hear the water start flowing. Notice the drip stopped because this valve opened, so that drip stopped. And we can look out here at the garden and see the sprinklers are running. So it'll just run for 30 minutes, no big deal. I mean, it's cold today, it's moist, so I don't really need to water, but just figured I'd kick it on so you could see it. I don't think there's anything else I need to show you from the garden perspective. That's kind of my back little corner, and then just if you're curious, I've got over here in the corner of the yard, I've got 2 pear trees over there. Of course, there's the back of the house. So I've got 2 pear trees over there in that little narrow strip. My original top bar high beehive sitting over there against the fence. This is a peach tree and or nectarine, I can't remember, but there's this one here and there's that one there. One's a peach, one's a nectarine. These are lantana bushes around the bottom that need to rip up because they take over. Pomegranate tree, apple tree. And then off the back fence here, I've got, looking to this side is all grapevines, and looking to this side is all blackberry bushes. So I have quite the extensive little micro farm. Unfortunately, I don't know that I really have enough of anything to make a decent crop. You know, I come out here and I get maybe a quart of blackberries and maybe a couple tomatoes. It's enough to keep me entertained, I guess, but it's not enough to really feed the family, so to speak. So that's always the goal. But like I said, I just figured I'd share. Hopefully this gives you some good ideas if you can kind of put it on perspective, because a lot of my videos I don't give the overall glance. But again, if we just step back, you know, here's the raised beds here. That little fence is just for a trellis now, and then of course all the beehives back there and the rain barrels. So I think that's it for that. So hopefully that'll help you kind of understand.